Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Tennant, and today we're talking about mistakes new writers make. Sometimes I'm like a whisper in a riot, but I grow stronger, keep So Preptober is upon us, and sooner than any of us want, we're gonna be right smack dab in the middle of NaNoWriMo. Because you know that you go from like day 1 to day 15, like overnight. Those first 15 days are just gone. And I know not all of you partake in NaNoWriMo. I myself don't often get to partake because my projects don't tend to line up. But every year this season brings me so much joy because I get to watch new and seasoned writers alike coming together to share in the exact same descent into madness and hell that is trying to write 50k words in 1 month. But joking aside, this is also a season where many new writers take their first deep dive into the craft that is writing. So to kick off the season on my channel, I have for you guys a video of writers talking about their own newbie writing mistakes. Also, I apparently promised in my last newbie mistakes video that if that video hit 100 likes, I would make a new one. And I was having trouble coming up with enough things for a script, so I decided to ask for help. So 10 amazing writers were kind enough to document their mistakes on film and share it with all of you guys. And our hope is that this might help you avoid some of the mistakes that tripped us up early on in our own journeys. So I'm going to be adding timestamps in the description down below so you can rewatch your favorites, and next to the timestamp I will put all of the social media of the writer who submitted the clip. So if you find a particular writer's advice helpful or you feel a connection with them, make sure to go down into that description, click on their links, and go show them some love by following them or maybe even buying one of their books. And many of these writers have YouTube channels too, so I'm going to put some of their videos in a playlist, and then I'll link the playlist in the end cards at the end of the video, so you can go watch and maybe you can find some new creators to follow. Also, I'm going to be doing this in alphabetical order, so no one thinks I'm choosing favorites. Just putting that out there. And so I present to you 10 newbie writing mistakes.
Hello, my name is Arnella and I'm here to share my biggest newbie writer mistake. Going back to when I first started writing, my biggest mistake was to not make any backups. I was 12 and computers felt like rocket science to me. So one day my hard drive exploded, and I'm not being dramatic, there was actual smoke and I lost everything. I vividly remember my heart just sinking to the pit of my stomach. Overall, don't repeat my mistake, make backups.
What's shaking? My name's Cam over at the YouTube channel Wolfshot Publishing. Up until recently I actually had 2 books out, self-published and available for purchase, but I've since taken them down. Hands down, the biggest mistake I made when I put them out years ago is that I rushed the entire process. I made a point of skipping over or glossing over really critical steps in the publishing process, steps that did have a really negative impact on the finished product. If you can allow me to sound all spiritual for a moment, find the inner peace of knowing that your book will be out when it's ready, when it is the best that it can be, and that might not be for a while. Just don't rush it, silly.
The toughest lesson I learned as a newbie writer was that I couldn't write a good story by the seat of my pants. After proclaiming that freedom, success, and creative expression were symbiotic, my 3 unplotted manuscripts showed me just how wrong I was. They lacked cohesive plots and character development, among other things. So after 7 years of studying anything and everything I could about outlining and plotting, my writing has come leaps and bounds. If I could tell my younger self anything, it would be to read The Hero with 1,000 Faces by Joseph Campbell and get over yourself.
My greatest newbie writing mistake was having talking head syndrome, and I didn't even realize that I was doing that until a new critique partner of mine told me about it. I had no idea it was even a thing. A lot of my scenes lacked description, and you couldn't even tell what the environment was because I wasn't even describing it, and the characters weren't interacting with the environment. So most of my scenes were just 2 heads, well, talking. Definitely a newbie mistake that I've actively improved upon.
When I first started writing, my biggest issue was not plotting. I spent 7 years on one novel that I just trashed. I got maybe 50,000 words in and decided it was garbage because it was garbage. The other thing that I did was not take my writing seriously. I never made time to write. If you want to write, take it seriously, make time, then you'll be able to actually go somewhere with it.
So this next one is a quote submitted by K.M. Weiland. Her books have helped me become a better writer, and now I get to share some of her wisdom with you guys. So I'm going to read her quote out loud, and I'll put the quote on the screen, but everything I'm reading was submitted by her, so pretend it's her saying it. I don't view most of my early blunders as mistakes, so much as inevitable progressions away from total ignorance. To that end, the biggest mistake I can think of in my early years as a writer was simply failing to recognize that there were rules. When I discovered my first writing how-to book at the library, it was a revelation. Most of what that book talked about were simple basics, like avoiding head hopping and POV, but it kickstarted my entire journey through the amazing and complex world of story theory. The more I've grown into my understanding of how stories work, the more I also feel I understand about the great mystery of life itself.
Hi, I'm Kat Rosenfield here with my confessional video about the worst, though not the first, mistake that I made when I was just starting out as a newbie writer. In 2012, when I was working on my first novel, Amelia Ann is Dead and Gone, I had a character in that book who's just kind of the worst. Mean, stupid, rude man. And as this private act of petty revenge, just as a placeholder, I named this character after a boy who used to bully me in high school, which was fine and nobody would have ever found out until the book came out and I realized that I'd forgotten to change his name to something else. Whoops. So that happened. Fortunately, he never found out. I don't think he ever read the book or any book. So I was safe. And since then I've written 2 more. My most recent was co-authored with Stan Lee of Marvel and came out on September 17th. It's called A Trick of Light. And one of our characters, actually, strangely enough, is an aspiring YouTube star who's, among other things, a lot better at doing this kind of video content than I am. Check it out.
If I had to say what my biggest mistake when I was a newbie writer, and I'm talking about way before Essence or any of my books were ever published, is that I was a bit too confident when I finished the first draft of Essence, which was under 50,000 words, so it wasn't even really considered a novel. I may have submitted it into a writing contest and had full confidence that it was going to win. Like, there wasn't a doubt in my mind that it was gonna lose. And my oh my, I got rejected real fast. So sometimes my biggest mistake is that I'm a little bit too confident. So now there's that little sense of doubt in my head, but because I've gotten rejection, it's forced me to be a better writer, and I do things like revise a book and rewrite it until it's over 50,000 words, or as truth be told, 80,000 words. But yeah, that would be my biggest mistake when I was a newbie writer, was just the overconfidence.
Hi everybody, my name is Stephen Partridge, and when it comes to mistakes, I've definitely made a few. Now, I'm definitely tempted to say the biggest writing mistake I ever made was not outlining my first draft because it resulted in me rewriting my novel 4 times. However, I think probably the mistake that I think is the biggest is that I never kept a world Bible initially. A world Bible is basically just a document where you keep all your information about world building, whether it's people, places, objects, magic systems, languages, whatever. You keep all of this information in a world Bible. So yeah, that meant I had to go back through and make sure that I had no inconsistencies in world building at all from anything. And it took a lot of time. So yeah, make sure you do a world Bible. And don't be like me.
When I first started writing, I wanted to write fantasy. I loved magic and dragons and wizards and Tolkien, and I wanted to emulate that. I wanted to recreate these incredible magical worlds that I loved so much. That was kind of my problem. And it's a problem that I think a lot of first-time fantasy writers run into. They focus so much on the fantastical elements of things, the magic and the dragons and that spectacle, that they forget having the grounded story, the emotional beats. They don't work enough on those, and the story ends up feeling stale, forced into that world building that they worked so much on, and it weakens the entire story as a whole.
And now a bonus mistake. I've done videos on this before, so I'll link all of those in a playlist in the description if you want more. But I'm gonna give you one here too, because it occurred to me that I had the perfect one. One of my biggest mistakes when I was first starting out is something that I don't think I've mentioned before, because I was fortunate enough to be saved from it before it truly impacted my life as a writer. So when I first started writing, I didn't go out and learn the rules, I just sat down and I wrote, and 20k words in is about the point where I realized I was heading for a train wreck. At which point I went and started buying books on writing and looking up videos on YouTube and looking up vlogs. The mistake was that once I realized how many mistakes I made in those 20k words, I decided to quit. I thought, I don't have what it takes to be a writer. There's no way other writers make this many mistakes when they're starting out. I was lucky because I had Josh, and he outright refused to let me quit, but a lot of you out there don't have Joshes. So I'm talking to you when I say, don't give up. When you're starting out and you pick up your first book on how to write, or you subscribe to your very first writing advice channel on YouTube, you're gonna feel like you're the worst writer in the entire world. It's gonna happen. But my hope is that when that happens, you remember this video. Remember all of the writers who shared clips here, and remember that they made mistakes too. Serious ones, silly ones, handfuls, bucketfuls, we've all been there. Pick up your favorite book by your favorite author and remind yourself that when they were starting out, they made mistakes too. And contrary to what you're telling yourself right now, they made just as many mistakes as you currently are. So don't give up. And that was it for this video. Huge, massive shout out and thank you to all of the authors who were kind enough to take time out of their days to film clips and write quotes, reliving their early mistakes and sending it to me so that I could share it with the world. That takes some guts, I think, and I really appreciate it. So go show them some love. Again, a playlist will be in the end cards with some videos of those who have YouTube channels, but not all of the writers here had YouTube channels, so make sure to check out the description down below too, and go show those people some love by following their Twitter or their Instagram, or if you really feel like it, go check out their books. I've read a couple of them and they're pretty great. So thank you so much for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next video.
Say